Okay, well, thank you everyone for coming to the November Team Outdoor Industry Action Team meeting. I'm Laurel Eastman. I'm the co-host of this CCL National Action Team together with Bill Barron. And we're really excited to share an evening together and just catch up. Of course, we're always going to remember that we are nonpartisan. We're going to use the chat tonight to share links. So go ahead and open the chat. And if you want to rename yourself with your location, that's also helpful. And then the purpose of our meeting tonight is to really be inspired, to become educated, to network, and then to look for ideas for meaningful actions that we can take, because taking action is really what matters. So before we dive in, we'll just do a really quick connect, like an intro. So we'll say our names, where we are, our role in CCL, and something that we love to do outdoors in the winter. And I will start. So my name is Laurel Eastman, and I am in Baja California, but I'm part of the Flathead Valley chapter in Montana with Robin. And I participate in a lot of the CCL Montana and our local chapter, and also the outdoor action team. And in the winter, I love snow kiting. So that's me. I'll pass it to Robin. Why don't you go ahead, and then Danielle.
Okay, yes. Thanks, Laurel. Yes, we're so lucky to have you in our chapter, Laurel. So I'm a co-leader for the Flathead Valley chapter and also a co-state coordinator for the state of Montana. I live in Whitefish, Montana, and I'm about 7 miles away from Big Mountain, which is our ski hill, and that's what I love to do in the winter is downhill skiing. And it's not too long until opening day. Yay! I think Danielle is that next? You were next. Yeah.
Danielle from New Hampshire, actually part of the New Hampshire Lakes Region group, but currently right in Boston. I sit at the foot of a mountain up in New Hampshire, and opening day is in a week and a half, and I will be downhill cross country skiing, but I also love to skate on a lake that we're right in front of. So yeah.
No, that's awesome. Cool. Well, let's go to Ashrith, and then Carl, and then Lance, and then Ernie.
What is the question?
Oh, yes. Oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah, you guys came in a little later. So we're saying our name, where we are, our role in CCL, and our favorite outdoor activity in the winter.
Okay. I'm Ashrit. I'm a CCL volunteer. I'm located in Florida, Portland. It's outdoor here in winter. It's very warm, so I enjoy walking, running, I'm going out, and at times in winter when it's warm, swimming.
That's great. Hi, Carl Dance here, and Ashrita, I hope that you weren't too badly impacted with the hurricane. I see you're in Fort Myers, so hoping it wasn't too bad for you personally and your family. But so I live in the San Francisco Bay Area, and I've a liaison with our local congresswoman. I'm also a quote state coordinator, which in California is kind of weird. There's like 6 state coordinators underneath the regional coordinator, Tasha Reddy. But so I have those roles, and my favorite outdoor activity in the winter and all the other seasons is bicycle riding. So you'll see me out there no matter how cold it is. So.
Okay, my name is Lance. I'm in Georgia. Our winters are not as intense as you guys is, so I could go outside and go hiking, maybe like Stone Mountain, or some type of hiking range. That's what I would do. So there's very little snow.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, you guys. Ernie, it's over to you. And then let's go to Julie and Bill.
Yeah, I was. Oh, so I'm next.
So hi, my name is my name is Ernie. Please excuse me. I do have sort of a cold that I've been trying to deal with for the last few days. Yeah, it is what it is. But yeah, I'm based out of Tucson, Arizona. My role is pretty much the the IG content, the Instagram content writer, I guess, if you want to call it that. And because I do live in Tucson, Arizona, my favorite outdoor activity is cycling. Contrary to so many places in the US, now is the time to go outside if you live in Southern Arizona. So many people want to complain about like 45-degree weather and 50-degree weather, like, oh, it's too cold. And I'm like, I don't think it is. So yeah, so yes, I would say road cycling and definitely some hiking.
Awesome. And actually, I see Rich just joined. Rich, we're just saying our names, where we're from, and our favorite thing to do outside. I don't know if you can hear us. You're on mute with your camera off. Great to have you with us tonight from Connecticut. Okay, we'll see if he comes back. So yeah, so now let's go to our two presenters, the special guest for tonight. We've got Julie Hancock, who's going to interview Bill Barron. So Julie, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm the co-leader for the St. George chapter here in Southern Utah, and I live in Virgin, Utah. And my favorite outdoors is skiing, either downhill or cross country.
Nice.
Whichever has the most snow, whichever area. Being in Southern Utah, you know, it depends.
And I'm Bill Barron. I'm the regional coordinator for the Mountain West. I also am on the steering committee for the Salt Lake City chapter here in Utah. I also co-lead with Laurel, the outdoor industry action team. I'm a backup liaison for Senator Romney and some other stuff. So it's great to be here, and thanks for having this, Laurel.
Oh, well, thank you, Bill, for founding the team where we have found a home to be together and connect. And I see Rich has got his camera going. Rich, if you want to unmute and also introduce yourself quickly.
Hi, my name is Rich Willis. I'm in Manchester, Connecticut. It's a suburb of Hartford, and that's about it.
What's your favorite winter sport? I feel like I might know what it is, but let me guess.
Well, I used to be a very active skier, three nights during the week and every weekend, all summer, all winter. So this has come to an end because I'm now retired, now living in the retired community. Thank you about it.
Well, that's great. So thank you everyone for taking the time to share a little bit of yourselves with us. And yeah, with that, I'm really, really excited to introduce Bill and Julie, who are going to talk about Bill's amazing use of outdoor recreation and in particular road cycling to talk with people all over his state of Utah about climate, to connect and use that as a bridge to have conversations. So Julie and Bill have worked together in Utah for many years. They go way back. So I think this is going to be a perfect pairing. So Julie, go ahead and take it away.
Okay. Tonight, we're going to be discussing Bill's most recent bike ride across the state of Utah. And it was called Biking with a Purpose. And his goal was to bring attention to the issues of climate change. And we know that he's the regional coordinator and leader of the ski team. But I didn't know this till recently. In 2010 is when he joined CCL, and he started the 12th CCL chapter for CCL, right, Bill?
Yeah.
12 in the nation, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
In Salt Lake City, pretty amazing. He's also a proud father and a carpenter by trade. And he was on the Alta ski team for, I don't know how many years, Bill?
Ski patrol for about 25 years. Yep.
And he ran And he ran for the US Senate in 2012 and 2016 for the Senate, and in 2012 and 2016 for the Senate, and 2014 for Congress. And it was all on a platform for climate change. And he adheres strictly to what his daughter wrote him at age 7. Dream big for what you want to happen. And boy, he certainly has. And Bill, that sort of dedication and commitment is an inspiration to us all. And you're my climate hero. What inspired, speaking of being inspirational, what inspired you to ride your bike as you campaigned for the US Senate and Congress on a climate platform, nonetheless, in Utah?
Yeah, thanks. And thanks for the kind introduction, Julie. I got, after getting involved in 2010 with CCL, I was like as you explained, I was a carpenter by trade, and was really deeply concerned about the climate issue, and going to lobby in 2010 was completely out of my comfort zone. I was super nervous, and I couldn't believe I was in DC. I was there, and it was one of those changing, moments that change your life, where I lobbied and I was like, wow, this is amazing. We need to be doing this. The more people who are talking about this issue, the more impact we can have. And I kind of came back from that experience in 2010 and really dove into the climate issue. And the next election cycle was coming, and it was sort of like, at the time back in 2012, there was very little conversation about climate in any of the campaign events, especially in Utah. And I thought, wow, maybe if I could run as a candidate, as a single issue candidate, and draw attention to the climate issue, and just to be sure that climate is part of the discussion during the election cycle. And I knew that it was sort of if I could get the signatures to get on the ballot, which at the time, I think it was 1,000 signatures, and raise the money for the fee to do it, it creates this opportunity to get out and talk to people and be able to stand for what you believe in. And that was something that was really important to me. And when I first announced that I was going to run in 2012, I had a friend of mine mention Wayne Owens, who was a congressman in Utah in the 70s. And what he did then was he walked the district and went door to door talking to people. And this friend of mine suggested, well, why don't you walk the district? And I thought, I love biking. How about if I ride the district? And that sort of spurred on the idea. And, at the time my free time was really limited. So it was kind of an opportunity to do something I love while standing up for what I believed in by being out on my bike. And to be honest, I really struggled with, speaking publicly and very uncomfortable in that way. And, to be a candidate was way, way, way out of my comfort zone. And being able to ride my bike from town to town was actually sort of a way that made it easier for me to go and do that, because I was doing something that, makes me feel good and gets me out, and that appreciation for being in nature and seeing the countryside was just, filled me up, which gave me the energy to be in these towns and trying to reach people and talk with them about the climate issue. So it was kind of a perfect combo of doing what I believed in and doing something that I love at the same time.
Didn't each ride have a different theme? Could you tell us the different themes and the changes that you observed over the different years?
Sure. Yeah. So
changes of attitude.
Yep. So the theme, the first ride was over 3 weeks. It was 1,200 miles across the state, and that was starting in Idaho riding across the state and finishing on the Arizona line. The second campaign was when I ran for Congress. So that was specifically focused on the 2nd district and just trying to hit a lot of the rural areas. The 2nd district is the largest district in Utah and has a lot of rural components to it, and then has a piece of Salt Lake City in it too. So that one started in Salt Lake City and finished at Capitol Reef. And my line was, we're stuck on a reef politically, and we need to do something about this issue. So that was sort of an idea of finishing at Capitol Reef. The third time I ran was, the idea was I should do something unique and different and creative on the biking side of things. And so I did the tour highest to lowest point in Utah. I started on the Wyoming line, rode to the trailhead for Kings Peak, which is the highest mountain in Utah, hiked over Kings Peak. I had friends who supported me and drove my gear around to the other side. So we hiked over the top of Kings Peak with my brothers and some friends and descended the other side, hopped back on the bike and rode to the lowest point in Utah, which is down in the southwest corner of Utah, and finished in Arizona, or maybe it's Nevada down there. Anyway, this tour, the one that sort of happened this time, was the idea was, I was to retrace the tour that I did when I ran for Congress, where I finished at Capitol Reef, and this time start at Capitol Reef and ride it in reverse, finishing in the Salt Lake area, actually finishing at the ski area that I ski patrolled at for many years. I've had a mountaintop finish at Alta, and that was the idea, was wanting to go back and see how the conversation has changed since I did that tour back in 2014. So those are sort of all the tours that I did. And as far as how things went, the first tour was like, I'm super uncomfortable. I'm going to try to talk to people. No one wants to talk to me. I'm just going to plug away and keep doing it. And over time, I got more and more comfortable with being out there and talking to people, and gradually, over time, I saw this shift that was happening as far as sort of the conversation around the climate issue, and it sort of parallels what we saw in our lobbying experiences in DC, as far as, first it was climate change isn't happening. Then it's climate change is happening, and humans might have a part in it. And then it became climate change is happening, and humans have a part in it, but we're not sure how much. And then over this time, it's led to where on this last tour, we were organizing events where we had community leaders that were joining panel discussions who were like totally in acceptance of the fact that we are being impacted by climate, and how are we going to deal with it locally. So it showed a huge shift in me personally, being able to be out there talking to people, as well as a shift in how the issue was being heard and discussed along the way. Certainly there are some exceptions. I still visited a town, actually, ironically, the Hingwich, which is the town that Wayne Owens was born in, the guy that walked the districts. That was my hardest town on this tour this year, where there still is, embedded climate denial ism going on there. So, it's still, there's some tough areas still out there, but, just the value of being out there and talking to people is something that, I think is really important. And, over these different tours, I've found that, it's been really exciting to see how things have improved. And it's reassuring to know that that's happening out there.
What was the most interesting part of this most recent ride, the Biking with a Purpose?
Oh boy, most interesting. I really I appreciated the challenge I had in Panguitch as far as how important it is to have people, angry and interrupting and wanting to say that it's they don't believe the science and all that sort of thing, and how I realized how important it is still to to listen and let these people share how they feel rather than to counter them, give them the chance to express themselves, and then to from there find common ground, where you can start talking about things. And I found this happen time and time again, where if you're willing to let people express how they feel and appreciate where they're coming from, even if you may not agree with them. I mean, this is sort of classic CCL playbook, finding common ground from where they are, and then building a conversation from there was really rewarding to me. And I think also I'm going to hit two other things that I thought were really great. The other element was getting these events where we had panelists that were, mayors and city council members and water commissioners and county commissioners, all these people that, I feel looking back they wouldn't touch something like this with a 10-foot pole. And yet now the conversation has shifted to the point where, they understand that this is an issue that they need to address, and they're willing to face that. And I that was very rewarding for me. We've done a lot of work with Bob Inglis, former Congressman Bob Inglis, who's the founder of Republic EN. And, he heard about this tour and he wanted in, so he joined the tour for a few days, which is really fun to, get to experience the tour with him. And that created an opportunity for us to get in front of Rotary clubs and, really trying to reach conservatives in some of the tougher parts of the state. And not just that, I was just, really surprised and amazed how, Bob's a very good person, and he also has no problem with riding in inclement weather, which I thought, maybe he doesn't want to ride when it's pouring rain, but he was all for it and joined in. So it's really fun to have that opportunity to share the road with Bob, and really, see how well he is able to communicate with people on this issue. And, always I'm learning more and more as I go along, and Bob's a good role model for that type of communication. So those are probably the three highlights. There are others, but I think those are the top three.
What was the most challenging?
So on the third day, we had camped at Kodachrome Basin, beautiful park in southern Utah. And one of my friends came down, Noah, to help support the tour. The tour was being supported by Pete Vordenberg, who was also doing some filming along the way. And he drove his van, and Noah came down to help us out. And through Noah, I had heard that Salt Lake hit 107 in September. And this was like, I think it was, I don't have the stats. I think it was, our record over 100 went from like 22 days in the year to 30 in 1 year. And we hit, he told us that Salt Lake hit 107. And that day I was leaving the Kodachrome to ride to Panguitch, actually. And I was really, I was pretty depressed thinking about, like, this is, things are happening and we're not doing enough here. And it was a really, I was kind of digesting all of that. In the meantime, I was also, preparing for myself for the fact that I was probably going to come into a town that was going to be my toughest audience, and it proved out to be that. So I think that was probably, probably the lower point of the tour.
You mentioned Panguitch was probably your hardest area. What was the easiest? Where did you feel like pretty comfortable and like everybody was right there listening?
Well, I don't know if it's easiest, but I think we did an event at Utah Tech, which is the school that was recently renamed in St. George. It used to be Dixie State College, I believe, or Dixie University. You would know that, Julie.
Dixie University, yeah.
Yeah. And the tours were really hard to organize because you're dealing with different towns. You needed to get people to help you out in all those areas, which is hard to do. And there's a lot of unknowns. And the event that happened in St. George, it was really hard to know exactly how it was going to shape out based on the communication that I was experiencing down there. And the afternoon I'm like stressed out. I'm thinking, oh my God, is anyone going to be there? What's the turnout going to be? And I walked into this room, and there was, as the event started, there was over 100 people there. I think there was 125 people that came to this thing. And this was an event that I didn't have I organized to get the opportunity for Bob Inglis to have a platform to speak. And so that was very effective and rewarding to see all that come together. We also had on that panel, we had the mayor of Ivins and the county city council member from St. George was also on the panel, and a energy analyst from Utah Clean Energy was also in that. So it's really cool to see all that come together. And I think equally as impressive to me was what happened in Kanab, which is a pretty red part of the state. And that's where we also had a panel discussion. And in that case, we had the water commissioner, the county commissioner, a city council member, and the energy analyst as panelists. And it was just really cool to see that come together. And that was, credited to one of a local that who is a CCL volunteer, sort of on the fringes, who really dove in and made these events happen. So it was really, I think that working and having these relationships with people and seeing the success come out of it was really great.
What do you think would, I've considered like Panguitch, is there a way to reach out to them more as CC volunteers or? Yeah,
I after that event, I was like, we got to go back there. We need to talk to these folks more. And the reality of it is it's, and we all know this, there's some places where the amount of energy that you would expend to get something to take hold, like, is probably not as effective as going to other places where you might have more of an impact, where there might be some more moderate views. So not to discard Panguitch, but having conversations with the local that helped me put together the event that we had in Panguitch, he was like, I don't know, I don't know if it's you're going to get the reward that you should have for what effort you put into it. So I think that it was a lesson in these are tough crowds in places. We still need to talk to them, but you have to weigh the amount of energy that you would need to put in to really influence it. And this town in Panguitch is, I don't know do you know what the population is, Julie, in Panguitch?
I don't know.
I would say it's probably less than 5,000 or something, but it made me think that in towns such as Kanab, which is I talked about where we had a panel discussion, Kanab that to me is where we could have a lot more, impact, because it's not so firmly against climate. And there's, even though it's a red part of the state, they're the gateway to the north rim of the Grand Canyon. They also are, they get their energy from Lake Powell, the energy from hydro at Lake Powell. So they're looking at, some serious problems coming their way because of the water levels that are at Lake Powell. So I think there's, if you ask me where I would focus my energy between the two, I would say Kanab, because it's a larger population, because I think that there's some more reasonable perspective on the issue and what needs to be done. And so, not to, I'd still be happy to, go to Panguitch and take it like I did, but probably have to be reasonable about where the best place to put your energy is.
What about Cedar City? Did you feel that area was pretty open?
Yeah, Cedar City. So Cedar City is also was a good event. We had Bob Inglis was still with me on that part of it. So we had a presentation with a Rotary that Bob did, and it was kind of a tough crowd. Panguitch is sort of like, Cedar City is, is sort of I would say in the middle between Panguitch and Kanab, in that they're
Early.
resistant, but you can talk and you'll get some pushback, but it's relatively reasonable. And so I think that Cedar City has potential. And we also, again, fortunate to have a collaboration with the Levitt Center, which is a political component of Southern Utah University. So they helped host an event there, and in that event, we were able to get a professor on climate related issues, and a city council member and a water commissioner in that discussion as well. So sort of real success across the board, just having people that years before like never would have happened, and now I feel like the tide has turned, and it showed me, the whole experience, I think, showed how important it is to just, be out there and keep talking, and like we do in CCL, start listening first, and, build a rapport, even if you don't agree with them, build a rapport, and then just, keep going.
It sounds like the logistics of it were quite intense. I mean, how did you organize all of that? So each town you went to, somebody was there helping you get organized, get folks out, setting up a panel. Is that the way it worked?
Yeah, where we had the panels, definitely, and absolutely. If you have, it was key having people in the towns who were helping you out, and in the towns where I didn't have that, it was, we had no shows. So, for instance, we didn't have any contacts in these towns. And I was retracing my campaign event from 2014. So we went into these towns, and I had some help where we reached out to like the town hall for these towns. Milford, Delta, Tooele are the three towns where we did this, and they were willing to offer us a room to use, and they said they would share the flyer that we created to invite people, and they didn't show up. No one showed up to any of the three spots. The success on the back end of that, the success was that we met with county commissioners in every one of those spots. And that was with some help we have here in Utah with some lobbyists that are working in the state of Utah that we have help with. And so, that was certainly an upside, but, in order to make it to the next town, for instance, it's like road from Milford to Delta, had an event that nobody showed up for, and then had to keep riding into the night to be able to make it to Tooele the next day in time for the Tooele event, which was at noon because it was on a Friday, and then have nobody show up for that too. So, we had a little bit of that on the back end. So, it's a mixed bag. Definitely a lot of logistics. It was, especially having like Bob English join, certainly didn't, want things to not work in that area when he was there as well. So there was, it was kind of stressful along the way. And where I had help, it made a huge difference. And where I didn't, it was pretty lean.
So you had, but like while you're riding at night, you do have a van or some kind of backup, right?
Yeah,
and you're not carrying all your food on the bike, correct?
No, Pete had the support van going.
Okay.
He was great. And I was never, if I needed food, it was not too far away. And it was sort of, I like, if I wasn't so concerned about climate, I'd do bike tours and adventures, and that's sort of my jam. And so, riding at night was sort of kind of fun because it added adventure to what I was doing, and, being in the elements and, waking up after riding till midnight and in the pouring rain and realizing I gotta, get out and start riding in the rain to make it to the town where I was going to meet Bob Inglis to ride into Cedar City. So, it's sort of a little bit of an adventure there too, which is something that I enjoy. So it was again, I think, trying to mix standing up for what I believed in and doing something that that I enjoy. So it's like taking two passions and mixing them together. And trying to, really, do both of those at once.
Would you encourage other states to try that? Other people that live in other states to ride across their state and talk about climate issues? And you could tell them how to do it. Show them how to do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe join them.
Sure. No, sounds good to me. I think what I would like to encourage is that, what are you passionate about? What do you like doing? Is there a way you could take, something that you enjoy in the outdoors and make it into something that you can, add advocacy to? So maybe it's, if you love skiing, maybe it's doing a tour of the ski areas in your state and setting up, events at, it could be anything, but just trying to mix something you enjoy with something you believe in. And I think that's the combo that I would encourage. And certainly biking is something that, works for me, but I think anything you can do that, adds a little creativity is good. And, I think that when I first got involved in doing advocacy work, I thought, all right, I'm going to put my juices into this. We passed carbon fee and dividend and, all right, I'm done. I can go back to living the life that I was living before. And I think we've all realized that it's not going to be that way. And that, advocacy and working on this climate issue really is something that's sort of becoming a practice that we can do our entire lives. And so how do we make, this work sustainable for our lives and make it something that, we can keep doing, because we kind of need to, because the issue will always be here. And so that's something that I would encourage folks to think about is, how can you make climate advocacy fun for you in something that you're passionate about? Because I find it incredibly rewarding to, be out talking to people and doing it in a way that, really fits my personality by being on a bike. And so I think that's what I would suggest.
Well, I know that you have a few slides that you're going to show, so I want to leave some time for that. But I also wanted to open it up to other folks. If anybody here had any questions or input to Bill, speak now.
Carl.
Yeah, I just gotta say, buddy, like, that's an amazing story. I mean, I mean, Ernie and I and others are cyclists, probably more than I know, and just to think about these trips and the distances and the climbing and going at night and going in the rain, it's just like, dang, it's so inspiring. So that's all I got. I just wanted to share that. That was awesome.
Oh, thanks, Carl. I appreciate it. And I have to give a nod to Carl too, because the jersey I wore was something I got from Carl, a CCL jersey. So thanks for providing that. And I wore it with pride the whole way.
All right. That's so cool.
Anybody else have a question or a comment? Susanna?
I was just going to ask whether you were ever in touch with Mindy Aller, who was another CCLer who did a bike tour similar. And I'm sorry that I got here late, but Mindy is the regional coordinator now for the I'm trying to remember the new
North Winds.
The North Winds, right? The North Winds. And I didn't know if you had reached out to her, because she might have had some good advice. I don't know.
Yeah,
It sounds like you did some amazing stuff.
Yeah, Mindy rode across the country, and that was super cool. She actually did that a couple of years after I did my first campaign. I can't remember which year she did it, but yeah, we definitely we talked about our tours, and they were different in their own right, but they were definitely doing what you're passionate about and being out there speaking up for what's important is definitely the order that she chose.
Wow. Well, if nobody else has any comments, Bill, I'm gonna let you show your slides. Whoop, Laurel.
I just have a quick one. Bill, you mentioned how when you were working with Bob Inglis from Republic EN that you learned some tricks about talking with conservatives. Is there anything that pops into your mind that you could share for us that work in conservative states?
Yeah, I think I think he just has a great way of listening to people and hearing their perspectives and being able to talk about just the he used a lot of his, which is maybe something we don't have, depending on who you are, a lot of his conservative credentials to express that he's very conservative, and yet this issue is something that, a market-based solution really sticks to conservative values, and how, the market is a way to address this issue. And I think it's just, listening and, talking about, or should I say, know your audience and frame your conversations in a way that you believe that your audience could hear them better. So if you're in a conservative audience, I don't even, you don't get into the weeds about, climate and how bad of a situation it is. It's more talking about opportunity that can come from, the deployment of clean energy in your states, and how it's economically beneficial to make this transition, and you know, really trying to look at what conservative values there are in the area that you're speaking, and really trying to address the conversation from the perspective of the audience that you're speaking to.
Makes sense. Anyone else? And also I want to say that on YouTube and whatnot, you can watch some of his other tours. On 2014, isn't there one on YouTube for that one?
Yeah, there's one, it was called For All the Marvels in 2014.
Right,
And then there
right.
was in 2016, there's a YouTube video blog of the tour in 2016. That was the one from the highest to lowest. And there are links to those. If you go to my profile in community, you can find those links there if you're interested in checking them out.
They're very, I mean, I started to cry when I watched the one, just hit my heart. You're so sincere, you're so dedicated. It just is pretty
Wow.
amazing.
Thank
So.
you. Yeah. Also, I added a piece that actually a friend helped write that really talks about, you know, my life before CCL and doing a bike tour across. I did a tour in 2000 before I got involved with CCL that started in Wyoming and ended up in Nevada. And that's discussed in a link too on my profile page.
Nice.
And then Pete Vordenberg, who joined this tour, he's working on a video or a blog or I don't know what to call it, a documentary film of the tour this year too. So that's hasn't been finished yet, but that's something that should be coming as well.
Nice, nice.
And I have some slides I could show you if you want. It takes about 5 minutes. I'll just go through it, and then I'm happy to answer questions afterwards as well. But this is just sort of a download from the tour. So I'll share that right now. I could have added a little context in some of those, but the guy in the yellow was Bob Inglis and earlier on, and then you could see him and later on and during the rain showers, and I was just amazed that, you know, I remember texting Tom Moyer, who was with Bob Inglis in St. George after I had ridden into the night there, and I'm like, it's pouring rain. Well, let's just meet you in Cedar City. And I got a text back from Tom, and he's like, no, Bob wants to meet you and ride. And so I was like, oh God, I got to ride an hour in the pouring rain to meet Bob, to meet him where we had planned. And you know, it was just really fun to do that. And then you know, that photo in the riding in the dark with the lightning in the foreground, that it was just this amazing night. That was after leaving Delta that I was telling you about. And there was literally like thunder and lightning on both sides and in front of me, and I was dry the whole time I rode. And it was just this spectacular display of lightning and weather that was just all around me. It was just amazing.
Wow. Very impressive. Any other comments, questions? We're getting close to the end, unfortunately.
So inspiring. Oh my God.
So inspiring. Oh my. I'm going to keep going with CCL now.
Bill,
So
how
I
much,
gotta, oh, go
Bill,
ahead,
how
sorry.
much do you, how much do you worry about cars and getting hit and that kind of thing?
I all the time. It was interesting. The day that one of the days that Bob Inglis rode with me was from Springdale, Utah to St. George, and to get in there, you have to hit a kind of a busy artery that flows into St. George. And I'm like, oh my God, what if Bob gets hit? I'll never, you know, I'll never live this. I'll feel awful forever. And it was very stressful. But as far as, you know, typically if I could, I would ride, you know, before really early in the morning or after rush hours if possible. But I also ride with a mirror that's on my handlebar. And so, you know, it's a great way to just kind of just take a quick look and see if there's cars coming your way. So for the most part, you could kind of see them coming, but you know, you are exposed, and there are certainly times that we're uncomfortable because of the traffic. But I figure if it's my time, it's my time, I guess. So, yeah.
Well, I'm glad there were no mishaps. That's good.
I know. I saw a question in the chat too. The beetle. I don't know what the beetle was. That was Pete. Pete's the guy who had his tongue sticking out earlier on in the slide deck. He was a total character, and he found that beetle somewhere and brought it along for the drive. And I have no idea what it is, but it was huge. So
Was it pretty iridescent?
Yep.
Sounds like a Japanese beetle that eats peaches, but I don't know.
Wow. Yep. Could be. I think it was in Cedar City we found that one. But anyway.
So Bill, I just dropped a link to this silly website, the Velo Manati or whatever, the keepers of the rules about cycling. And rule number 9 is, if you are out riding in bad weather, it means you're badass, period. So yeah, so you're badass, period.
Thanks, Carl. You know, it's what I love to do. So it's you know, again, it's to be able to pair what I love to do with what I love to do, which is speak up, and like we all do with climate. You know, it's a good combo, and you know, definitely a great experience.
Laurel.
Awesome.
Turn it back
Yeah,
over
I
to
know
you.
Oh, Julie, Bill, let's give a round of applause. Thank you all so much. This was so awesome. And we are going to close. I thought maybe we'll just do a screenshot before we close so we can capture the moment of together. So if you want to turn your cameras on and give a smile or a thumbs up, you can just say, cheese. Oh, thank you, everyone. Well, I am incredibly inspired, and I don't know if Robin also wants to ride her bike across Montana. Maybe we could do a hiking tour. Yeah. But no, I think that this is just a very, very neat evening that we've shared. I will also put once again in the link all the ideas that we have for actions for our team. They're on the agenda. We've got tons of great projects going on with the outdoor industry, great ideas for you, things that are quick and you can do in 1 minute, like talking to your representatives about the RISE Act if you haven't done that yet, to much larger projects that you can dive in on. So thank you all. And I will just say the last thing before we go, next month, we're going to do a special social gathering for our team. It's the day after Christmas. It's the final meeting for the year, which has been a really awesome year together. So we're just going to hang out and celebrate. And yeah, thank you all so much for coming tonight. Really appreciate everybody.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you. Good
Bye-bye.
night.
Awesome,
Good night.
Bill.
Thank you. You guys take care.
Thank you.